sleep well. I'm glad. Yeah. You dreamt about us. Tell me what happened. No, that's adorable. No, did I now? I wouldn't go around repeating that. I know, darling, I'm only teasing. Shall we get up now? Or would you like a lazy Sunday? Of course. You've had such a busy week. You deserve some extra time in bed. Even yesterday was busy. You've been so stressed. Today, we can take all the time you need to recover. I suppose I could, seeing as this is a special occasion. All right. Let me see. There was once a very attractive princess, and she had been working tirelessly to ensure that her kingdom was running smoothly. But today was different. When she arrived in her court, ready to meet the morning's tasks with her usual ferocity, having skipped breakfast and had her maids help her don some garments as fast as they could, she was surprised to find that there was no one there. The master of the hunt was missing. The Grand Master was gone. The Hall of Stewards was hollow. The falconer was nowhere to be found. The almoner was absent, and the butler's booth was bare. The court was devoid of a dapper fur. The royal fool had flown away, and there was no sign of any of the knights. Even the standard bearers had sauntered off. After much investigating, the princess returned to the main hall, only to find a man waiting for her. "Hello, princess," the man exclaimed. "I've been waiting for you." The princess approached this unfamiliar figure. He wore a smile, supported by a strong jaw, and framed by a mane of dark oak. His green eyes pierced through her initial ill-disposed presumptions, offering nothing but pleasantness. "I have prepared you some breakfast, your highness," he said with a suave bow, gesturing to a piping meal set beside the royal throne. It was delicious, a mix of foods that she had never had the time to taste before. Juicy fruits and crunchy loaves, assorted with meats, cheeses, and eggs lay in front of her. She had no idea who this strange man was, but he had damn good taste. As she chowed down on the last morsel of food, she thanked the mystery man and inquired as to the whereabouts of her court. "They have gone, your majesty. All dealt with. No need to worry." He offered out his hand. "Let's take a day off today, my liege. Explore the gardens of the castle. Relax a little. You deserve it." And so, off they went, exploring the land surrounding the castle. He showed her everything. Every field, every fountain, every flower. The princess admired every rose, tulip, and daffodil, having wonders revealed to her by this handsome traveler. They moved down to the city below, but no one recognized her. Her busy schedule had hidden her away from the very people she was supporting, and her rushed attire was hardly royalty. Nonetheless, the baker greeted her with a warm, toothy smile, and the smith wished her a lovely morning. The early sunlight blossomed between the buildings, warming the princess as she warmed to her adventurer. He took her out of the city and down to the forest, the one they say is filled with magic. Though they travelled for what must have been miles, she barely noticed the time passing. The forest was filled with life, foliage, animals, and critters that she could now appreciate the beauty of. Her smile grew ever broader as she heard a waterfall nearby. It was at least 50 meters tall and came into view in a clearing. The sunlight piercing through the canopy and refracting off the cascading outpour. The falls were Atlantis blue, tumbling off the edge of a high outcrop, creating a wall of azure satin laced with silver, before pounding the rocks below. The flowers next to it were nodding gently, encouraged by the zephyr to exude their honey-sweet smell. The pool below was large enough to recover from the rowdiness and become crystal clear, slowly heated by the sun over the day. Upon dipping her toes, the princess found that it felt like a warm blanket. They bathed in the velvety embrace of the Lin, splashing around and relaxing, travelling back to the city only once they had had their fill, stopping by the bakery for sweet buns and the tavern for evening entertainment. From the outside, the building looked inviting, modest and warm. Hardwood planks and wooden pillars made up most of the building's outer structure. It was impossible to see through the small, curtained windows, but the clapping and cheering from within could be caught outside. As they entered the tavern through the decorated wooden door, they were welcomed by joyful music and dancing people. The bartender was working hard, but still managed to welcome the princess with a smile. It was as alluring inside as it was on the outside. Rounded wooden beams supported the upper floor and the sconces attached to them. The walls were packed with all sorts of travel memorabilia, most likely all collected by the owner. The tavern itself was packed. Tourists seemed to be the primary clientele here, showing the fruits of the princess's labor. Several long tables were occupied by what must have been separate groups who had bonded over great food and conversation. The other smaller tables were also occupied by people who seemed to be strangers to each other, all sitting there because there were no other seats, though they all clearly enjoyed each other's company. Even most of the stools at the bar were occupied, though nobody seemed to mind more companionship. The princess recalled that she had heard rumors about this tavern. Supposedly it was famous for something, but she couldn't remember what for. Though, judging by the warmth and the joy that radiated throughout the tavern, it was probably the atmosphere that made this tavern famous. Her fetching friend managed to find seats, waving her over so that they could prepare for what would undoubtedly be a wonderful evening. The city folk danced, sung, and drank their way into the night, and the princess returned to her chambers in the early hours, a smile plastered across her rosy face. She would have to have lazy Sundays more often. Did you fall asleep, darling? Oh, I see. You're snuggled up to keep warm. In that case, soon I'll go and fix you some breakfast. Save you disturbing your comfortable position. I'm sure the smell will rouse you before long, though. And besides, you want to have a good breakfast today. We're going on an adventure.